Hey, it's Derick Gant, the 24K Life podcast host. We are here to help you crack the code. You know what? Your 24K Life code is all about what and how you can get deeper into mastering yourself so that you can become the best version of yourself, so that you can take that best version out to society, out to the marketplace, and demand top dollar. Now, it's not always about the money, but you know what? People who deliver their absolute best get the best. They have the best relationships, they get the best doctors, they have access to the best trainers. And you know what? It all revolves around you deciding that you're going to crack your own code and do the work. Now, you know me, and you know that I'm going to ask you to like, share, and if you have not yet subscribed, shame on you, but it's okay. Subscribe to the podcast. We bring amazing guests to you so that we can broaden your horizons past the scope of my limited ability in finance. And so today we've got this cat. His name is Nicholas Natali. I'm calling him Swiss Nick. I'm just gonna call him Swiss Nick, because when I read you his profile, there's nothing dude can't do. I wanted to call him a spy, but he has some issues, and I don't know if that's a good joke or not. But he gonna let us know if it is or isn't. But you know what? Without further ado, here's Nick Natali, Swiss Nick. Swiss Nick, what's up, brother?
What's going on? Great to be here, man. I was just listening to all that. You have such a great voice for this, Derek. Are people telling you that when they hop on? They should be.
You know what? Today, I had an interview, and one person said, "You got a good voice for this," and I'm like, "I never knew.
See, it's meant to be.
It's meant to be."
I'm happy to be Swiss Nick. Here we go. Let's do it.
See, you know, and you do know what that means, right? The Swiss Army knife. I mean, this bruh's got all kind of tools. He's got the screwdriver, the bottle opener, the knife, the saw. He's got all of that inside his pocket. So let me read you his bio, and then we're going to tell him to give us the breakdown. So first of all, bro's been on Business Insider. He is an entertainment entrepreneur. I don't know what that is, but he's going to tell us. He has a technical background. He worked as a software engineer, software project manager for the Department of Defense. Hence, I didn't say anything about him being a spy because it might not be a good joke. So
who knows?
Could be. See, okay, he said it, so I'm just playing along. He is a host and he produces one of the top entrepreneurial podcasts in the world. My man, in the world. That's all I'm gonna say. In the world. Okay. I'm trying to just get Toledo, Ohio. You know what I'm saying? I want to be the best podcast cat in my neighborhood in a 10-block radius. My boy is the best podcast host for for entrepreneurship in the world. Nick, tell us about like what you do. Well, first of all, tell me, what is an entertainment entrepreneur?
Wow, Derek, this setup is so large. I hope that I can capitalize on it.
Come on, man. You can't shrink now, bro. Shrinking now is not an option.
That's right. Entrepreneur, entertainer, or entertainment entrepreneur. I came up with that term because I felt like if I just said entrepreneur, it wasn't really quite true to what I do.
Okay.
Because I'm in the acting industry. I mean, I act and I have a podcast, and those things both align with entertainment. And I think having an entrepreneurship podcast, it kind of pigeonholes you as like, you have to be the business guy. You got to show up with a suit and tie and only talk about business. But in reality, I feel like since my niche is in the entertainment, it only makes sense to be an entertainment entrepreneur.
All right, that makes sense. You're an actor, so now I'm done. I got it, 100%. You're an actor.
Boom. That's it.
All right.
That's all you need to know.
All right.
Plaster my headshot right here too.
Hey, put it up, man. If you don't have it, send it to me. I'll put it up when we do the YouTube version of this podcast. So tell me, like, where do you spend most of your time now?
I spend most of my time doing the podcast, hosting the podcast, but also producing other people's podcasts. So business owners that have predominantly service-based business owners who are looking to start a podcast and fulfill it. I am the guy on the back end coaching them through the process of how do you make one that is of quality, and also how do you stay consistent? Because I'm sure, as you know, Derick, you've had to have heard the statistics around podcasting. Like 90% of them don't get past episode 4, and those that do, 1% does get to episode 20. Like, podcasting is one of the only areas I've seen where there is just such an insane drop off, and then the other half is like people who aren't doing it well, people that aren't bringing the energy like you, Derick, and having good questions and planning and all of these things. So I take care of all of that stuff for entrepreneurs that are trying to make their podcast but don't want to do it wrong.
I feel you, man. How do you help them not be part of the bottom 80%?
Yeah. So the first part of the process is we get past the first 4 episodes. So before we even launch, we have 4 to 8 in the backlog already recorded. So that temptation to be like, oh man, it's week 4, I don't have anything to post. That's not happening. You're gonna have stuff in the backlog for time to come, which allows you the flexibility to, make different things in your schedule while also not feeling pressured to put out content that isn't as like the quality or the story you want. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. The next thing that I think also helps is, and this is what a lot of podcasters get wrong, myself included at times, truthfully, is not being targeted enough. I think podcasts serve the best when they're niched down to a very specific audience that will put the headphones on and say, this podcast was made for me. And that can only be said for so many people, right? Like,
that's true.
It can't be for everyone. So if you market to everyone, you market to no one, the classic. And for whatever reason, podcasting is a space where that is very inconsistently happening.
Yeah, I can attest to that even personally. With my podcast, I started off years ago, and I think I did like 8, and then I just fell off for like 2 or 3 years.
It happens.
Then I was listening to this marketing guy, and he said, if you're a podcaster or podcast host, you should check out Podmatch. And it's a dating site for podcasters and hosts. And I'm like, yeah, this is another gimmick, something else that they can, beat you over the head with. But I did. I went and took a look, signed up for it. And it is a really good medium to meet amazing Swiss knife Nick type folks. What? That will come on the show. And what I try to do is I try to bring people on that can help my community in ways that I can't. So I stick with finance, and I go, hey, we can help you with your finances, get your money right. And, I'm always like, get your money right, man.
Yeah, you got it.
But there's other people that can help them figure out how to get their nutrition right, how to get their fitness right, how to get their networking right. I'm going to talk to you about networking. That's what I really want to talk to you about.
Let's do it.
And so I bring in other people that have expertise that I don't have, or if I have some knowledge, it's just enough to be dangerous. So I might have 2 of those tools in your Swiss Army knife, not the other 19. So with that, man, how did you get from government defense contracting work to acting to being this #1 global podcaster in this particular business entertainment space?
Oh, baby, that's the big journey right there.
I know. That's what I got to know. Before I ask you any serious questions, I got to know the journey.
All right. The journey starts in, I've always been making short films, short videos, things like that ever since I was a kid. So I've always had an inclination to make creative, fun things like that.
Okay.
And that passion really never left me. I went to college for software engineering. I came out with $60,000 in student debt, and I found that out my last semester, which is always a nice surprise, which is my own fault because I was a young man, not checking the numbers as often as I should.
Okay.
And with that, I moved into a 1986 Chevy Suburban because I was like, well, there's no way I'm going to have this debt my whole life. I'm getting out of this debt like as soon as I can. So I moved into a car. I paid it off in 11 months, working like crazy, like 60 to 80-hour weeks for the Department of Defense. They launched a government investigation on me. That's maybe a story for another day. Nothing happened. No worries there.
Clean slate.
A clean slate.
All right.
But what was happening when I was living in a Suburban was I would cook on my tailgate, and people would come up to me, and sometimes it was like people that were like hungry, and I'd like hook them up with some pasta or some food or something like that. And
Right.
other times I realized like people just wanted connection and to talk and to share their story. So I started to like get a lot of like stories and hear a lot of cool things, and it made me want to have a medium where I could have those stories translated to the world, because I almost felt a little guilty. I was like, I'm the only one hearing these cool stories. Like, I want other people to have this too. So
Right.
I started the podcast while I lived in my Suburban, and since then it's grown, and it's changed shape too. So like the first season was a lot of like life story things, and by season 2 we switched to almost predominantly entrepreneurship. But that's the quick, in a nutshell version of
Okay.
how I went from
All right, but
Sky
we got
and
to talk
software
about
to
this
podcast.
car, this Suburban, though, bro. I mean, we got to talk
let's do
about
it.
it because
Let's do it.
because I've heard of so many rags to riches stories, and I've heard Steve Harvey say he lived in a car. I've heard Tyler Perry say he lived in a car. He's a billionaire. I think you might know who Steve Harvey is, the Family Feud dude.
Yeah.
And so you're like, people who never lived in a car or out of a car don't understand what that really means. And as close as I could get, I think I was watching a documentary of someone, and it might have been Steve Harvey, and he said he was it was Steve Harvey. I was listening to his documentary, and he said that he was in California. He was trying to get a gig in Florida, and they told him he was in the middle of cleaning up in a hotel bathroom, and a convention came in that he didn't know about, and he's lathering his armpits in the sink and shit. And it was the most degrading thing that he said he could have remembered. But long story short, it's just, what was it like? I mean, give me one day in the Suburban, like one full 24 hours. Let's say first thing is that you wake up, then what?
Yeah. So I should be clear too. There was a point in time where my best friend also moved into the Suburban with me, so it was 2 people out living in the Suburban. There was a period of like 8 to 12 months where both of us were living in the same like tiny
Oh my
tiny
God.
car. So that needs to be part of this context. And I got him a job at my same job. So a full day would look like we would wake up at probably between 4 and 4:30, because we didn't want anybody to know we lived in the Suburban.
Of course.
Obviously, because we worked for the government, and we just thought that, So we would wake up super early. We'd go to the gym. We'd work out a little bit. We probably wouldn't shower that time. And then we'd go into work. We'd brush our teeth in the bathroom, do the deodorant stuff. And then we weren't eating because we were trying to save as much money as we could to pay off these loans. So I became malnourished. There was a point in the timeline where like my eyes were starting to sink in, because I really wasn't eating, and all of my money was going toward these loans. But we would then work like a 12 to 14 hour shift and eat maybe like there was one point where I bought a bag of 100 fish sticks, and I made it last for a whole month. So I had like 3 a day.
Wow.
So I'd have 3 fish sticks, and then I'd go, when we got off, we'd hop in the burb, go to the gym again, because we really, what else are we going to do?
Right.
Work out again, shower. And typically what would happen is we never got it down. We always forgot to bring extra clothes, so we'd work out, get sweaty, take a shower, and then have to wear our sweaty clothes back to the Suburban, and we'd be so bummed. We'd be so bummed. And one time one of us forgot our shower shoes. I think it was me, because you had to do it in this communal shower.
Right.
So we each split a flip-flop. We each had one flip-flop, and both of our freed up foot touched the bathroom floor, and we instantly got athlete's foot on each of the one foot, and we were also
God.
one time. It was just one time, and we were bummed about that. But the best days, I'll tell you, Derick, here's where it gets juicy. The best day in the Suburban was like Thursdays, because on Thursdays we would allow ourselves to go to Wendy's for the 4 for $4. They had it was like chicken nuggets, burger, fries, and a Frosty for $4.
Wow.
And that was everything. And all the other days we'd have this joke where when we were going to bed, we'd be like, "What's for dinner?" We'd be like, "We're eating sleep for dinner." Because
we're eating sleep for dinner.
Eat sleep for dinner.
So what drove you? And then there's 2 of you. How long were you guys friends? Were you childhood friends? Because I don't know if you could find another nut as an adult that's going to buy into that strategy. But go for it. How long were you guys friends?
We have been friends for a long time. I think I met him when I was in 7th grade. We
Okay,
went to high school together and college together.
Because nobody else is explain why we're living in this car again. Why can't we split rent? Why can't we go home? Why can't we live with somebody's cousin's brother's nephew, sister? I mean, so you needed a ride or die in that kind of mission.
Yeah, we did. My whole thing when I first started, I would repeat this mantra, which, to be honest, this whole, when I reflect on it, it's extreme. The whole scenario is extreme.
Oh, you think?
But during the time, I just thought that was like what it took. So I would repeat this mantra of like, the only thing I want to be controlled by is God. And that debt felt like it was over my head. And I really didn't like the feeling of being like, every time I get a paycheck, I'm going to give a fat chunk over to this debt. And I was like, I got to get rid of it. So that was a big motivator for me. I don't know what his motivator was. And he ended up paying off his debt. He had like $20K, and I'm not sure if I already mentioned that, but I think at some point we just started like to enjoy it. We found like happiness in this suffering that we were putting ourselves through.
I got it. You know what's so funny, man, is I was watching, I love documentaries. I don't watch regular TV, but when I do, I watch these documentaries. And I was watching this documentary about these swimmers and these Olympic swimmers. And they really, I haven't even finished it. I've only seen 1 or 2 episodes. But the one guy was like, I got addicted to the pain. If I wasn't puking and bent over, I wasn't happy. I was actually upset with myself at the end of the workout if I wasn't in pain. Mm-hmm. And so then he said he'd go back and work out until he did. I'm like, my God, I've played Division I football. Maybe I needed that mentality, never had that mentality. But what a mindset. Now, how has that translated? Well, let me back up. Sure. Would you do that shit again?
I would. I'd do it in a heartbeat.
You would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And so okay, that's a solid, good answer for you. So
would I recommend it? Probably not.
All right. Well, I wouldn't recommend it as a strategy either, but maybe a last ditch strategy. Yeah. But how much did that build your resilience for like the rest of your life?
Yeah, I think the reason I would do it in a heartbeat is because of all the intangibles that came with it, like the grit and the proof of whenever I have thoughts of self-doubt, I do reflect on those times of like, you're the same guy that wouldn't eat to get what he wanted. Like there's no reason you can't push through this thing or find another avenue or find the resources. And then also I think it readjusted not that I had misalignment of what I thought was important, but it really showed me how important relationships were, because when you have nothing, all you have is people. So people that would call me or want to visit me while I lived in a car, like all of those things really meant a lot to me. So it put, faith at the forefront, that I would be kept safe every night, and also relationships, because that's all I had, stripped down of all the materialism and other junk that gets in the way of that sometimes.
Wow. Well, I'm gonna post your contact information, because
love it.
I want to say something, but I'm going to post it first. So if you are listening and you want to go check Nick out, it is Nicholas, Nickolas, Natali, Natali.com. Go check him out. Now, the reason why I posted that was because, man, David Goggins should invite you to write a frigging chapter in his book. In his next book that comes up, he should invite you to write a chapter in that, because if that's not grit, I mean, you didn't have to use all your money. You didn't know any better. You thought that was just the way it was. But I am sure after a little while, somebody said to you, bro.
The whole time. Everybody was telling me to stop. From the moment I said it was an idea, all I heard was no's. But maybe that's the other part of me too. That was like, that was very David Goggins of me, of being like, you don't think I can do this? I'm going to do this.
Exactly.
That's so funny you mentioned his name. There's a video I watch of him where have you seen it, where somebody asks him, did David Goggins train today? And he just laughs for a minute straight. Just like doesn't say anything but laughs. And I'm like,
oh my God. I haven't seen that one, but I am going to find it, because man, when some people ask him questions, you're like, oh my God, they've never had a hard day in their life to ask that particular question
to him.
To him. So yeah, man, that's awesome. So here's what I really want to know next. I want to know what today's mantra is, if you have one. So your old mantra was the only control you ever want to have over your life is God. And that kept you moving and motivated. What keeps you, when you're in need today, what keeps you pressing?
That is an excellent question. And I think there's a few that come to mind. If I'm working out, I still have an unhealthy one that I wouldn't. This is the thing, is like I can't pass a lot of these things on to other people because I don't think they're entirely healthy.
Listen, wait, before you tell me, I don't think that I've read all the Eastern philosophy, not all. I read a ton of Eastern philosophy, read a bunch of Western philosophy. I've read not all, but a lot of self-help books. I do not believe that everything has to be positive. I think whatever motivates you, right? Because I'll tell you one of mine, I'm a bad motherfucker.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right? Yeah. I'm a bad motherfucker. And I'll be on the treadmill wanting to quit. Yeah. And then I start saying that. And I'm like, I can't quit because I'm a bad motherfucker. So I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just simply saying, go ahead and tell us, man, because everything doesn't have to be positive.
Yeah, I love that. I'm happy you said that. I'll give you two. In the exercise frame, so if I'm running or something like that, I usually say I'd rather die than quit.
Okay.
So that one gets me going. Yep. And then in regards to everyday life or business or whatever it may be, I'm usually reminded, I think about time, and I think of, this is the only July 28th, 2023 I have. So like there's no time to wait. There's no time to sulk and commit. So urgency and time are big motivators for me, and I think it's because I have a sense of mortality. Like I'm very hyper aware that this life isn't guaranteed, tomorrow's not guaranteed, and I'm not saying that to live recklessly. I'm saying it to live intentionally, to really be careful about what I'm doing with my time. Every minute counts. I should be like in constant pursuit of finding things that align with myself and then making sure those things are priority, so that my life isn't wasted. If we really believe this is the only shot we'll have at this, there's no excuse not to be intentional about it.
Yeah, I agree, man. I wavered in the past on, just sheer grit, sheer go, sheer goal driven, gotta hit this, gonna die, seriously, gonna die before I let go. And now I'm more of a, how can I find my flow inside of my goals, inside of my things, so that it's not always hard work. There's some smart work, there's some relationship work, there's lots of different ways to work, as long as you're making positive movement towards your net worth or your network. Which is an amazing segment into you, because you are the network building expert. So tell us about, I want to build a network of, let's just say, let me be modest. Let's say 100,000 people. Okay. Because I personally believe that there is a tribe for every person if they're providing a service, if they're sitting on the couch. I mean, there's millions of people that want to sit on the couch with you. Just that's what they do, right? They'll watch you sit on the couch. Especially, especially after the pandemic, when people were on OnlyFans with dog chains on, walking in the park, getting hundreds of thousands of dollars a day or a week or whatever it was. I'm like, bullshit, man. There is a tribe of people that want to get better, that want to understand the 24K life code. I just got to stick to it and figure out how to communicate with that tribe, because of some chicks getting paid to poo in the park.
Yeah.
See, I can tell you're just as crazy. You don't understand as much as I don't. But anyway, I digress.
I don't get it at all either.
Exactly. But there's people that are paying. Like these people, if you read these articles, I don't know about now, but during the pandemic, I was reading some, and my team would send them to me, and they knew it was driving me over a wall. And then when I saw the one with the chick wearing a dog leash around her neck and her boyfriend was walking her in the park, I was done. I was done. I mean, not just the act, but how much money she made from people paying to see it. I was done. It's like I can't believe it. But anyway, network. But let's say I have a legitimate service, which I do, that I want to encourage people. I want to help people. I want to service people to build their life. And I already have, let's say I don't have any. Let's go with the person who's just getting started. They had a couple hundred people. How do they build their network? And I'm not saying don't give away the diamond secrets. I'm not asking for that. I'm saying the big picture. How do they get started and how do they build that? And what does success look like?
Yeah, Derick, I'll give you all the secrets you want. I won't hold anything back. Come on now. Two things. The first thing is I do want to touch on the dog walking chick. I think to your point, there is like you said, there's a tribe for everyone, but at the same time, people need messages like yours because it's obvious they're outside of kinks or whatever. There's probably an epidemic of men who are really lonely and lacking discipline, who need structure and better outlets than where they're finding it on OnlyFans. That being said, networking, I'm not crazy about how many people are in the network. So pursuing 100,000 people in my network might not be as great just because it's hard to serve 100,000 people.
Right.
In terms of having personal relationships. And I think...
impossible for personal relationships.
Yeah. And I think that's a lot of what networking is finding a way to build meaningful relationships that can last time. Jason Pfeiffer, he is the editor of Entrepreneur Magazine. He always says it's not who you know, it's like how well you know them or something like that. So I watched this quote, but no,
just go with that. I like that
because that's what I believe is true. And I think my advice is, at least in terms of where we're at now, Derick, a podcast is, I hate to use the word Trojan horse, but is an excellent Trojan horse of filling your network with the people that you want. Because there hasn't been as great of a time to have a podcast as now, because in a past life, people weren't as jazzed up to become podcast guests, but now it's very interesting. You go on LinkedIn and you find the exact person you want to network with, and you say, hey, I would love to pick your brain for 15 minutes. They're going to say, sorry, I don't have time. You say, hey, I'd love for you to come on my podcast for an hour and talk. They're going to say, oh, okay, what time? It's the same conversation, and yet you build trust way faster. So that's one. And I guess the second thing I'll say too, this is third, the points are just stacking up here, is know who you want to network with.
Right.
Because you can network with everyone. And like you're saying, there's tons of people that love to hang out on the couch. Those probably aren't the people you want to go for.
Absolutely not. Hey, have you heard of 1,000 True Fans from Kevin Kelly?
Not from Kevin Kelly, but I've heard of like raving fans and things like Pat Flynn. Is it similar? Tell me.
Yeah, it is. Kevin Kelly was the one that originated the idea. If you Google it, there's a little video on it that explains it really well. But basically, Kevin Kelly says all anyone needs to be successful is kind of a weird word, but all-encompassing word. But all you need is 1,000 true fans. And he goes into, if you add the algorithm rules for like online sales and sales period, and you say, well, at any given offer, 2% of your true fans are going to buy. Then so I could put an offer out every day and a different 2% is going to buy because it's going to resonate with them. You only need 1,000 of those true fans. And so, I think it's pretty valid, and I think it's more realistic than saying I want 100,000. Right. Or I want now, even having a personal relationship with 1,000 is going to be tough, but obviously a lot more doable than 100,000 or a million. And so, because we look at, when I say people look, and I know I do as an analytical, more minded person, I'll look at some of these like Instagram pages, and some girl takes her you already know where I'm going. He's already laughing at everybody, right? She shows her booty cheeks, and she's got 1.2 million followers. And so you get frustrated when you're putting out great content. So how do you encourage I know how you do it with your podcast clients, but how do you encourage your other clients that you're coaching to stay in the pocket, how to stay in the game? And they're not you, so they ain't sleeping in their car and they're not going to eat 3 fish sticks a day. But how do you encourage them to stay in the pocket, meaning to keep churning that wheel when they're not seeing, the instant gratification that our society has tapped into our veins?
Yeah. In terms of podcasting, I think consistency is one of the biggest game changers that we have. And still, for whatever reason, it's shown that podcasts are most spread through word of mouth. So if you're not spending thousands of dollars in paid ad revenue, that's your best bet, is to continue to put out content. And the more consistent you are, the more trust you build. And then the other thing I say when I am trying to encourage people, because of course if you think about the total number of listeners, if 89 people showed up to a room to hear you speak, you would be ecstatic. You'd be so
absolutely
stoked. Yeah,
absolutely.
You'd fill up a room. And with that being said, too, if you had 89 people purchase your product, and if it's a service, assuming it's a high ticket, at least like $1,000, $2,000 or more, that's not chump change. So
exactly.
In terms of podcasting, I am not big on the mantra that you need to have a crazy amount of listenership to turn a really good profit. But I do think, to what you're saying, it's true. You need to have the right mindset. Otherwise, you're going to get caught in vanity metrics. Would you rather have 100,000 people listening and making $0, or would you rather have 100 people who love your stuff and buy everything that, they listen and they trust you?
Right.
So it's an easy comparison for me.
Right. So tell me how you got into the acting side of life.
Yeah.
Is it just because you live in California, or what? Is that just part of the water?
It's gotta be. I think so. Part of me wonders. I was born 2 hours away from LA. I was like, am I supposed to do this? This is what everybody in SoCal is meant to do? No, I don't know. But I've always enjoyed making videos and things like that. And then when I finally entered adulthood, I found an acting studio that I trained at for about, I think we're going on 4 years in San Diego. And then I moved to LA just this past year. So about a year or so here training in LA. And I just love it, man. In terms of what it provides for me, and then what it provides for others, what it provides for me is a constant challenge. I am someone who is wanting to grow more on the emotional intelligence side, and I have found that I don't experience a lot of emotions in my day-to-day life. And in terms of like extreme, I'm not someone who gets super angry. I'm not someone who gets super sad. And I think part of that is from removing emotion in order to have grit and resilience and those things.
Right.
But then when I go into an acting class, and that's the point, is to feel those things at a very heightened level, it's difficult for me, but it's also stretching and growing me. And I love coming face to face with that. And of course, I think the other flip side is if you have the ability to tell good stories and transform with people as they watch something, that's really rewarding too.
Yeah, man, I feel you on that. So, I'm really curious to know how you what are you applying? Not the acting, because I get that answer, but what are you applying that grit to now? Because I'm just sitting in my chair on the other side of the country, and the sun's damn near at its peak where you are. It is setting where I am, and I'm sitting here and I'm going, this dude right here, Swiss Nick, this dude, if he puts his David Goggins, Swiss Nick army knife to something, this dude is coming out with whatever he puts his mind on. So my question is, what's your mind on right now? What are you applying that type of grit to? And maybe not the Malibu type grit, but your grit, the Swiss Nick grit. What are you applying that to?
I love that. I appreciate that too. I just signed with an agent this week. That's a big deal to
Whoa,
me. So,
congratulations.
yeah, thank you. So that's part of the we're talking. Let's go.
Oh, baby. Make it rain.
Yeah, hopefully those big opportunities come. And then I think the world of entrepreneurship is constantly requiring grit, because it's as predictable as it can be in terms of what we can control. It's also super unpredictable too.
Of course.
Clients go away or they come, and you're constantly putting out fires. And I really think that, and this is part of the reason that I'm so drawn to entrepreneurship too, is it requires grit. I haven't met any entrepreneur that does not have a graveyard full of failures.
Right.
And that's I hope I'm not coming off like I don't have any failures. It feels like every day I'm finding new ones. So being able to apply it on a daily level in terms of pushing through for entrepreneurship, that happens very consistently.
I love it, man. That's never truer word spoken. It takes, and people hear the word entrepreneur and they're thinking, oh my God, this is going to be great. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And you're like, okay, all right, get your Malibu ready. gas that thing up.
Yeah,
you never know. You never know. Well, dude, I wish I could say proud of you, but I don't know if that's the appropriate word, but man, I am respectful of the work that you put in, of the attitude that you have, of the ability to pay off the $60,000 to stay in the Suburban for 3 years. You were in there for 3 years, bro.
I was
3 years, dude. And you had the nerve to say you'd do it again.
I know. You have to.
All right. Hey, live and learn. And you've learned that was the right move. So I'm with you on it. I would have been praying for Biden. I've been trying to have a crystal ball and say 10 years from now, some president's going to get rid of my debt for me. Maybe, I don't know. But I do commend you, man, for going to places that 99% of the people would never tread on. And you get a gold star from that one. So where would you like people, to find you the most? Is it NicholasNatali.com or on your Instagram or your social? What would you like them to hit you up the most?
I would say just go listen to the podcast. If you enjoyed listening to me chop it up on the mic, there's more episodes over there. And it's just my name, The Nicholas Natali Show. And that's it. You can find everything else you need in the show notes. But after you give this a 5-star rating, the 24K Life, then go over there. All right. And listen.
I appreciate that, man. He got his priorities right too.
Yeah.
All right, Nick, I'll be right back. Hold on a sec. All right. I keep trying to tell you, I'm bringing you these people that I wish I could say they're crazy, but they're not. They're crazy smart. They're crazy driven. And you know what? And they have figured out themselves better than most people. And you already know, if you want to be great, you have to surpass mediocrity. And Swiss Nick, come on, man. He has proven to you that he has the grit. He ran into roadblocks, with the student loans by not paying attention. He decided to take action, and his action was getting a great job with the government. Then he decided not to have to minimalize his expenses by living out of his car. And he not only did that, he was inspirational enough to convince a buddy of his to join him to eliminate their debt. He also has been able to launch his acting career. How many of you have gotten an agent? I need an agent. Nick, Swiss Nick, I need an agent. But don't worry about it right now. You just got yours. So you know what? The last question I wanted to ask him, I'm going to bring him back so we can answer it too. The last question I want to answer from him is, when we touch base with you in 3 years, what are we going to find out? You a famous actor, you're business mogul on stages, talking to 30,000 folks in a stadium. So Nick, you think about that while I'm closing up. Furthermore, I want to make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. It is our way of knowing that people are vibing with what we're putting out. It's our way of making sure that you're sharing the content so other people that we don't have direct contact to can also get the information. And it's an opportunity for you to learn that you don't have to break the bank. You know what? You don't need 1 million followers. You don't need 1 million subscribers. You don't need 1 million clients. What you need is a steady number. This is a quote from Nick, who quoted somebody else. It's not who you know, it's how well you know. We're going to bring Nick back real quick. I'm going to answer this question. Nick, did you hear the question?
I heard the question. You want to know where I'm going to be 3 years from now?
What are we going to find, man? Are we going to have to beg you for an autograph on People Magazine? I mean, what's happening in 3 years, man?
I'm going to be signing chests. I'm going to be kissing babies. The whole thing.
I love it. There's you remember Will Ferrell when he signed that baby's head. You go, don't wash that baby's forehead.
Yep. I hope so. I hope at least be a lead role in some episodic series on a streaming series. But most importantly, I hope if we talk 3 years from now, I hope that you can look at me and I'm like the same person I am today, but grown, like more mature, leading with even more integrity, being more disciplined, all of those things. I think that's really what's important to me. So outside of career accolades, I hope that I've just progressed as a person enough to we can both be like, wow, look how far we've come as people,
Nah, man, I want you to sign my shirt, bro. It's right there, sign right there. I remember Derek when.
Get it tattooed.
What? Nah, I ain't going that far, bro. I think you pretty
That's after
bad.
10 years.
Yeah, oh, okay, after 10 years maybe. Okay. All right, thanks, Nick. Hold on one sec, man. Hey, you heard it from Nick. We're gonna hear more about Nick. We're gonna have him on again and again because we're not gonna wait for 3 years when we got to call his publicist to get him to come on our show, right? We're gonna stick with Nick. We're gonna figure out where he is and what he's doing and bring him back every so often so he can elevate, update, and tell us what his ongoing deal is and how we can benefit from that as individuals. You can see already he sets his mark with intent. He sets all of his marks. He starts on your mark, get set with intent, and then he goes. So with that, I'm Derick Gant. I want you to be your best, bring your best, leave nothing to chance.